Man, this is blowing my mind. Have you ever heard of a rocket stove? And have you ever heard of a tree stump rocket stove? That's what I'm working on today. I've got a lot of stumps to get rid of. Today, I'm going to show you a variety of different ways to get rid of stumps. I'm out here in the pen where we train pigs to the electric fence. When I built this pen a couple years ago, I cleaned out a bunch of small scrubby trees, and I pushed most of them to the side over here, and you can see them piled up, and I got all the stumps outside of the pen. But I did not take a lot of time to dig up the stumps around this area. One side of the pen is on the gravel road that we call Crawfish Road, but the other side of the pen is right here in the edge of these trees. To drop carbon materials into the pen to help keep it clean and sanitary, I've got to drive through this area of woods. It was overgrown with a lot of really woody material. I cut most of the little trees that weren't growing very well, mostly sweet gums and black gums, but I left the best ones to grow up and close the tree canopy. But there are some stumps like this big sweet gum here that I left. It's not worth spending the time and energy digging it up with a backhoe. That tree's been cut and dead for 2 years now. It's not gonna be soft enough that I can just knock it down, but I think it's dry enough that I can set a fire to it and burn it. First thing I've got to do is go get the chainsaw. So when I cut the stump off, that section off, I found a part of it that's just really rotten out, which is actually perfect. It'll take a little bit longer for that to actually heat up and get a good fire flame going and get hot, just because it's got to dry out that wet part there where that kind of soggy half-decayed wood is. But now I'm going to go in the side and bore a couple holes in the side. Before I get started, let me just say I'm not an expert sawyer. There are other people who are much more skilled. I've used the same chainsaw a lot. I've got it so air can go all the way through. The hole on the end is just a tad smaller, but if I try to stick my chainsaw in this top hole here, there's just so much dirt and grime and half decomposed material that it's just gonna mess up the chain. All right, let's put some fire starting material in there and then give it a go. Well, the problem that I've had, if you do too much leafy stuff, the ash will plug it up. So with this pine stump, I'm trying it by keeping the stump a little bit taller. I think I may be able to get a little bit more of a draft. We'll see. I'm just going to offer a comparison between this one and that gum. Unfortunately, I need my 440 with a 25-inch bar because my top cuts couldn't go quite far enough to get that. Oh, there it goes. So this one, you can clearly see the hole in the bottom. You can see the, stick your hand in there, Charlotte. Here? In the bottom, yeah. You can clearly see the, I don't know if you can see your hand back down there or not. It's gotten kind of dark. We're ready to clean it up, put a little wood in there and start a fire. So what's your favorite way of getting rid of stumps? Let me know in the comments below while this fire is burning. I'm really kind of interested in trying some other ways as well. I got to talking on the phone and left this for over 30 minutes. and with the blower running. And interestingly enough, it amazes me how much that blower heats everything up fast. It's really not necessary. If you notice carefully that vent hole where the air is going though, you'll notice that over that 30 minutes it gets bigger and bigger. I wish I'd created a smaller hole, and so that's what I'm going to try on the next stump that I do, is a smaller vent hole and draft some more air. But before we do that, let's go check on the gum. Man, this is blowing my mind. This one is working so much better. It's only been lit for not even an hour, I don't think. The air hole's widened out, and so has that. I walked the blower to the other stump. Let me walk over there. I'm gonna go get that stump moving as well. I'll let that heat up with that blower pushing a lot of air through it, and go get ready to start on that other stump. Before somebody yells at me for putting gas on here, this is actually diesel. It's off-road diesel. We took the fuel tank off the backhoe to work on it several weeks back. Short of a long story, that's some of that dirty fuel we can't reuse. So I used about half a gallon of it or so and put it on this stump. This one I'm doing a little bit differently. Rather than cutting a hole out of the center, I just made the marks with the chainsaw to cut the hole out. Of course, that 3/8 chain on the saw is real wide. I did put the blower in here to make sure that stuff was coming out of the top, and it is, so that there is a little airflow. The stump is still a little wet, but I think that diesel will start it burning, dried out. And then with a little bit of help from the blower in that vent hole, I think it'll start burning and do pretty well. I don't know. It may be a debacle. Charlotte's bringing that barrel over here for me to set the camera on so we get a better angle. Come on. It's not taking off quite as well as I'd hope, but I think if I give it a little bit of time, once that heats up, I can start blowing air through that bottom hole, and then it will take off. Came out here and put a little more wood in this. I let it run with a blower for 30 seconds or so to let it heat up. But anyway, we'll see what it looks like in the morning. The next afternoon from when I started burning the stumps, let's go check on that gum first, and then the 2 pines, and then see what we need to do to get them going again. That is quite surprising. I never would have imagined that gum would burn up that completely. Anyway, let's blow it off with the blower, blow the ash off, and see what we've got below it. And this is that big gum that I've been burning for a couple days now. Once it gets flat like that and there's a little cup in the bottom, I like adding these big logs because they'll just sit there. They won't burn real hot, but they'll burn for a long period of time. That's what seems to really burn that lower portion of the wood, and it doesn't create a whole lot of ash. The ash just tends to smother the fires, and it doesn't get enough oxygen. I'm going to add something to that bottom corner. I don't think that's going to make a whole lot of progress today, but man, it is low maintenance. And that's actually just the top of that log that I cut off yesterday. So these are the two pine stumps. You can see that they have just kind of cupped a little bit in the middle of them. These two pine logs, I cut them from a tree that had fallen, gosh, a year or so ago, and I just laid them across the holes, and they'll sit here and smolder all night long. So I think we're going to be in good shape with those. I'm just amazed. That rocket stove cutout, it's a little bit of work, but man, it is very, very effective. So yesterday I came out and put a couple logs on the smoldering stumps. They weren't burned up completely. I've lost most of the footage from that, but before I ended the video, I just wanted to show you what it looks like now. We got 1.5 inches of rain last night, so it didn't burn much after I left. So I put these two logs on it last night, cutting more sections from that tree there. And you can tell, oh, that's still hot. There's still a little high spot over here on the north side of this stump. It was higher the other day, but by setting these logs on top of there, they just burned. But that right there should work out very well. This stump is right on the road, so really all I'm needing is just a place to help turn around, so that should be fine. I may come back through and set that on fire. The stump inside the fence though, which was the one that I'd altered the most, oh man, it's still hot too. This stump burned up really, really well. Most of what's right there is just ash, and I don't think I can be more pleased at how well that one burned. But the key is once they get real low, putting big, heavy logs on there that'll keep burning for a while and help that stump keep burning down into the ground. Dumping a bunch of small stuff, it burns out quickly. It gets hot, but it burns out quickly, creates a lot more ash, and it's just not quite as effective. Let's go check that gum now. Well, after 1.5 inches of rain last night, that stump is burned up fairly well too. There's a little bit of a high spot there. Most of that stuff is level with the ground. Once this rain stops and everything dries out again, I may build a little fire across the top, or I may see if I can just scrape that stuff off with the tractor bucket. But it's just about ground level. The ground kind of raises here because of the roots.